Our next speaker is the president of New York and New Jersey for United Airlines. Talk about a big job. Jill Kaplan, just imagine if you can what a day in the life of an airline regional president must be like and what it took to get there. I mean, United is in the news every day. We keep saying we got to tell the good United stories because, Jill, there are so many good United stories, and BIA tries to tell them every day. But when you talk about confronting difficult situations, Jill's got it all the time. Jill lives by the mantra that whether professionally or personally, she tries to fail forward every day. Jill, come join us, please.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's a great group. Thank you very much, Michelle, for those generous words, very generous words. Candidly, I had no clue. I stepped into this role 10 months ago, having spent the last 30 years of my career in the media business. I was a customer of United's. I went to the airport, I got on the flight, I got to the other side, I went to my meetings, I came back, I hoped that there wasn't bad weather. Little did I know about weather. Holy cow, it has been an incredible experience. But I want to be able, if I could, just to take you back a little bit and maybe share a bit about me, who I am, where I come from, and really kind of the founding principles of, I feel like, where I am today. I grew up in a little tiny town in upstate New York. I went to this giant regional high school. I was a kid who was a walker. I was a kid whose mom worked. And at that time, and in the town that I grew up in, you know, my mom and I have talked a lot about this, so I can share. I was embarrassed. I was. And I hated it. And I hated that my mom was the only kid, I was the only kid whose mom wasn't home when I came home. It made me sad. I missed my mom. And it was really hard. But the bottom line is, my mom needed to work. And it was the same feeling of when we walked into the grocery store and we'd walk down the produce aisle right away to the back, and there were these, you know, these doors that would open. There was a cart, and then there was a bin. And those were the beat up old vegetables and fruit. And then there were the dented cans. And that's where we started shopping. And that was really defining for me. And it was really an impactful moment because in that moment, what it said to me was that I wanted to be able to independently provide for my family. And there isn't necessarily a direct correlation. Michelle's, you know, what I can't quite explain what that correlation is, but I think as a kid, what it was for me was that it would give my family, that I hope to have at some point in life, options and choices. I still shop in the back. I still love TJ Maxx and Marshalls and love a good bargain. Let's not be kidding ourselves. Bottom line. But what I came to appreciate as I got older, and I could get choked up because my mom's a rock star. My great-grandma, thank you. My great-grandma, who, depending on the folklore in our family, was either the largest auto parts dealer in her town, the state of New York, or the country. Didn't matter. And I had these very interesting, I guess, conflicting female roles because my mom's mom, who was the daughter of my great-grandma, was an amazing woman. She lived till she was 96 years old. But she really challenged me a lot. Like, you really want to work? And I go, Grandma, not that I don't, not only do I want to work, I need to work. And my grandma was like, there are always ways. It's so important to be home. And at the end of the day, for me personally, what was important was that I was able to push through on my own path. And the inspiration of my mom and what she did for us and our family. And I remember as a little kid sitting, and I was always the last kid to be picked up because she was working. She was always working. And you know what? When the light was on downstairs at night, late, it was my mom. Because you know what? She was taking care of us. She was taking care of us. And to this day, that is what drives me. And the inspiration through her is really, you know, I tell her, it's how and where I am today. My folks are the foundation of where I was and where I am. And I remember when I was graduated from college, and by the way, when Olivia's ready, Steve, I'm ready to hire her because she sounds like a rock star, okay? I flipped a coin, and heads was New York, tails was LA. I was like, they both seem like really great cities. You know, we'll figure it out. So at that time, the New York Times had a very robust help wanted section. And I went through and I was looking, and my guidance counselor had said, you need to put an objective. So I said to my dad, I was like brainstorming, like, Dad, you know, I kind of want to stand out a little bit. I want to do something different. And he goes, just write success. I go, yeah? He goes, yeah, just write success. That's what you want. You want to be successful. You want to be able to take care of yourself. You want to be able to have an apartment. You want to be able to, you know, be on your own. So, oh yeah, I love that idea, Dad. I can't tell you, every single resume that I sent out, I got a response from. A, because some people were like, who on earth would write this? B, they loved it. But the bottom line is that I did want to be able to push forward, and I did want to be able to create a meaningful job, and I did want to be able to be intellectually stimulated. And this is all a way of kind of sharing what was interesting to me, and is interesting to me in today's world, is as I was growing up, and I don't know if I was blissfully naive, disconnected, I don't know. I just was raised that I was a good worker, and I would work really hard, and the merits of which I put forth would be recognized, not because I was a man or a woman or this or that. It was based on the work that I did. And so I have tried as best I can to work as hard as I can, to put myself out there in a very, I guess, humbling way, in the sense of asking for help, asking questions, being able to recognize my weaknesses, kind of an interesting, you know, exchange before, and really look to surround myself, if you will, with an amazing group of team members who aren't me. That to me is key. I feel that you are as good as your team. And Steve, and Michelle, I agree. If you're not on the bus, that's okay. Because in some cases, I think it's liberating for people. Really, they're in places that they're not happy. You change strategy, you change direction. It feels uncomfortable, they don't feel passionate about it. Get off the bus, get off the bus. And I feel that, you know, people ultimately have choices. It's hard, it is hard. I spent 30 years in media. I freaking loved my job. I loved it. I was really fortunate, you know, I interviewed lots of people, I met incredibly interesting people. I actually had a TV show that changed my life in meeting and interviewing business owners and entrepreneurs from all different walks of life. And I think that, you know, through these experiences, one of the things that profoundly changed me is that you need to go out of your comfort zone. And so I wasn't necessarily looking to make a change, But oddly enough, I was interviewing our CEO, Oscar Munoz. United was a client of ours. And we had a meeting, and they started to talk about this job. And what was interesting and odd is that earlier in the week, this was, I want to say like I think it was a Thursday, but Tuesday, I'd gotten a call from a recruiter. And it sounded like an interesting job, but I loved my job. And I was also in what I used to call a mommy holding pattern. I knew what to do. I could never get everything done on the list, but I knew how to manage the whole situation, or I felt I did. And as Oscar talked about his vision for this job, I thought, wow, I am amazed. This is a really unique opportunity. I want to see more about this job. P.S., here I am. And this was a family decision. This was something that we thought long and hard about. But I thought, at this point in my life, what an amazing opportunity to be able to go out of my comfort zone, to be able to challenge myself in ways that I humbly had no freaking clue I would ever be challenged with. I have learned so much. I have been inspired by so much. And one of the things that really moved me was the focus on female empowerment. It's a 90,000 person company. I've never worked close to, 9,000 was as close as I came. And there was something, I think, probably because I'm at a stage in this of my life where I have 2 teenage girls. We want to talk about a hard job, that's brutal. It really touched me. And it spoke to me in a way that I didn't expect. And the comfort and the communal element of being in a female-empowered environment has been spectacular. And it has created new relationships, new friendships, new opportunities to mentor, new opportunities to be mentored back by a generation. And I love that. Recently, we just, our new board chair is a rock star named Jane Garvey. That was a transformation. I'm getting goosebumps, actually. She's an extraordinary woman. And to have her as the head of our board was a very moving moment for so many and incredibly inspiring. I think that there are lots of pieces of advice. One of them that Michelle shared, I'm a big fan of failing forward. What does that mean? That means taking chance, taking risks. Not every day are you going to have a home run, but singles, doubles, and frankly, if none of it works, if you learn from that, to me, that is critically important. And that is how we move forward. That is how companies move forward. That is how people and families and organizations move forward. It is not necessarily something that is always fun and easy, but you come out on the other side, and I promise you, it is really an extraordinary experience. You will learn about yourself. You will learn about yourself. The other thing that I'd like to say is listen and learn. I have done so much listening and learning in this role. So much. I had to. I didn't know about all these different elements. Who knew? It's like freaking Disney World underneath the tarmac. You would not believe what goes on. It's unbelievable. I think that the other pieces of advice, if you will, is that you need to be able to, I've always been a big fan of being able to put your head on the pillow at night. You talked about making tough choices. You're absolutely right. It is hard. It is hard to make these choices. But at the end of the day, what I learned early on in my career is that the hardest part of it is that I couldn't do my job if the right people weren't on the team, or if the direction or whatever the case may be was not going in a way that I felt enabled us to reach those accountability metrics. We all fail. We all fail. And I think one of the things that I like to also share, particularly with women, is, at least for me, I came to a realization. I used to make these freaking lists all the time. And I would get to like 2 things on the list, and I'd be so ticked off at the end of the day. And then one day, I was like, you know what? I am literally never getting through this list, ever. And it was the most liberating, exhilarating thing. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I'll just transfer the list to the next day. And I started going through the list even more. Still don't get through the list, but it was a liberating moment. And I think the other thing that is really important is to have fun. If you are having fun, you are doing good work. You are doing good in your community. You are doing good by your family. Not every day is fun. We all know that. But I do think that that's an important quotient in what we do, and it is what is empowering. It is what is invigorating. It is what we take to the next generation. It is what we take to our teams. It is what we take to ourselves. And last, I guess, is a piece of advice, ending, and I'm not good at this, so I welcome other recommendations, is to find time for yourself. Now, I talked about my mom and the dented cans and the fruit. You know what my decadent pleasure is, which people think I'm a little nuts about? I love going to the grocery store and just wandering down the aisles in New Jersey. I happen to live in New York City, and so the aisles in New Jersey are so wide, and there are so many choices, and the prices are so much better. It's spectacular. You even have self-checkout. But at any rate, take time for yourself, because that ability to regenerate is critically important. So I thank you, and I give you a round of applause for all your success.